that brings us to the players only meeting. Sounds like Seth Jones and Corey Perry were the ones heading this up. Tony, when you hear players only meeting, I think alarm bells go off for everybody. I know on the Bulls side, go and listen to our guys over at Bulls on Tap. It was like crisis mode after one game into the season there. This is a much different setup when it comes to the Blackhawks, just where they are in their rebuild, in their timeline, in their, like I said, development, so to say. What are your thoughts on the meeting? I'll get to a couple of quotes here from Jones and Perry as well. But when you hear this and, kind of just taking it all in based on what we got from reporters post game last night, thoughts on the players only meeting?
I like it. I really do. And I think, this isn't the first time you've heard of this, squad together, sort of having like a reckoning that comes very quickly. I think overall what they're trying to avoid is like a 4 or 5 game skid. And you want to nip that shit in the bud right away. We did this already, Jonnie, on the White Sox stuff earlier this year. I'd like to make it through 2023 without like a 5-game Blackhawks losing streak. And so I'm a fan of the approach of let's shut this down, talk about it, hold each other accountable. And so far it's paid off. Obviously they had their hard practice after, what was that, the Arizona game? Or was that before? It was right around there.
Yeah, it was before they went out west for that Vegas Arizona swing.
That was the first incident. That wasn't really a players only meeting, but it was, coaches
a reinforcement of
Yes. So this is now the second sort of incident where you've seen them come out and say, hey, we need to be better. Obviously, as we had mentioned earlier, it feels like this team is harder on themselves than some of the leeway that I've given them personally, and maybe yourself as well. I'm not sure where Ron falls into that camp, but I like that. I like that energy. I like that they're holding themselves accountable. I like that they're trying to turn these things around. Granted, they're in the basement right now of their division. There's really not like a clear path to the playoffs or the Stanley Cup this season, but they want to play respectable hockey. And that's something to be admired, in my opinion. Like, they don't want to identify as a bottom dwelling team. And you can see that with Seth Jones. You can see that with Corey Perry. You can see that with Nick Foligno. You can see that with Connor Bedard. You can see that with Peter Mrazek, the way he's out there making stops in critical situations sometimes. So I'm a fan of this players only meeting, whatever they have to do to keep themselves from going on prolonged skids. I think is beneficial for fan enjoyment, because they're going to go out there and work hard, but B, also because I think that's an important part of the development that actually needs to take place. Talk about teaching guys how to win, teaching guys how to get out of the little slumps, trying new things so far with like Lucas Reichel moving to the wing, all these different little adjustments that they're making. They're playing to win hockey games. They're not trying to actively tank, and you can see that. It's a different feel. Obviously, they're going to lose their fair share, as we've said, but my reaction to this is good. Like, I'm glad that you are upset at a 4-2 loss on a back-to-back enough to hold everybody in the room, talk about it as a team before you let the media in, and go over what you believe you need to do next time you go out onto the ice to win a hockey game. I think that should be celebrated and commended. That's my take on it.
I think you're spot on with the not letting things snowball here. Now let's go to the horse's mouth here. Seth Jones, what did he have to say? He said, we have a few words that we live by on this team that we came up with before the season started. So we want to live by some of those and hold each other accountable. It's not mother effing guys and things like that. But if you make a mistake, your teammate should be able to tell you when you were wrong and vice versa. More from Jones. We don't want to be a team that has a great moral win, great victory, and then dips the next game and gets lackadaisical with our play. We want to be a team that can string together 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. Amen. So I I think there were some people that are, especially after watching a game last night where the first pairing faltered, right, defensively. And they say, well, Seth Jones isn't one to talk. He just had an abysmal game. Well, guess what? Do you want Kevin Korchinski stepping up in the room there? No, that's why these guys are wearing A's. That's why. So I don't get that argument at all. There were a couple people that were like upset about that. Seth Jones should look in the mirror there. Guess what? I guarantee he is doing that. And that's what part of this meeting was. He happens to be one of the veteran guys that does have a letter. And I know they're not having a captain this year, so I think it makes it all the more important that they do this by committee. Shit, Corey Perry, guy has been around the league. Sure, it's only his first year in Chicago, but he's a guy that should be stepping up and talking like this, and he is. So I am glad they're doing it.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. And this sort of goes back to when Seth Jones sort of threw himself out there for the captaincy of this team. Right before the start of the season. And you go back to last year, even when they were running the, Seth Jones knew what he signed up for, episodes over there on YouTube. He does not want to be here to lose. And I that's commendable. Nothing short of it. So obviously he could have had a better game, but at the end of the day, you want to know that these guys care. And they've shown a lot of care. That's more for some other teams that we root for, Johnny.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so there is, we talk a lot about on this show and on our social media about the hashtag culture of the Blackhawks, right? And while they're developing on the ice in terms of actual, style of play, guys getting acclimated to the league in many cases with all the rookies on the team, that culture needs to be developed too. And unfortunately, you're going to take some lumps along the way to do it. So I think Corey Perry hits on it here when he says that's the brotherhood. You're not putting anyone down. That wasn't the message. It's more about being able to talk about it and figure it out as men. I love hearing that from a veteran guy like Corey Perry. And it's letting those young players know that, hey, you're going to get called out if you make your mistake or you don't, you're lackadaisical on a shift or whatever, but it's not a FU to you. It's just we need to be better about this and put in the work every single time we're out there, whether that's practice, whether that's a game in the most important situations or in a lull of a second period, right?
Sense of professionalism is really what it is. And, I like that quote from Perry as well. I think that holds true in a lot of different circumstances. And, we talk about setting the tone over on Sox on Tap. That is a tone setting of the locker room right there. And let's see if it pays off.